Back at Rupp Arena in downtown Lexington, the Cats getting set to take on the Terriers of Boston U. And before the break, we talked about it just a little bit. John Calipari has talked so much this year about using that platoon system. The blue are the starters. The white team are the second five that come in. But tonight a change. And there you see right in the background there, number 25, Dominique Hawkins. He's a guy who really caught Coach Cal's eye. Coming out of Madison Central High School in Richmond, Kentucky. He was the MVP of the 2013 Sweet 16 tournament here, and Kentucky's Mr. Basketball. Nathan Judinay from over at Louisville Trinity was the MVP of the 2012 Sweet 16 tournament and the Mr. Basketball. As you take a look at John Calipari, and I think one of the real stars in coaching as well, Joe Jones, even though he's been at it for a while, Coach.
Joe's been coaching since middle school. He started in middle school, believe it or not, worked his way up as an assistant, and now he's a head coach at Boston University and doing a great job.
Terry Moore, Glenn Tuitt, and Kevin Fair are our officials tonight. Kentucky in the home white, BU in the road red, and we are playing in the SEC.
Well, BU starting out in the zone right away. I thought they'd start man-to-man, but they're starting zone right away. Of course, the danger at zone is offensive rebounding.
And as you will attest, Coach, no surprise that the last guy to leave shoot-around today who was working on his shot was Andrew Harrison, and he knocks down the first take of the night.
Well, this is what BU has to do. They've got to make shots, and they've got to come in and play like they're playing against somebody in the Patriot League.
And that's Chetty Mosley, a 6'3" freshman from Jersey City, who played in that great St. Anthony program.
Watching Kentucky yesterday in practice, they're going to try to get Harrison as many shots as they can.
Which Harrison is that?
Either one. That one particularly.
2 shots for the Wildcats tonight, both coming from the Harrisons, as Aaron missed that one. He hit both of his triples on Tuesday night, and before that, despite all those big shots he hit a year ago in that NCAA tournament run, he was 1 of 6 from outside the arc in his first 2 games.
You know, one of the things that's right now in BU's favor is they're able to move the ball from side to side, and that's something Kentucky's going to have to prevent them from doing.
And there's Dominique Hawkins with the tie-up, and excuse me for not finishing the story, but the reason that Hawkins is getting the start tonight is that Alex Poythress has got a bit of the bug. He tried to make it through practice yesterday, could not, tried to make it through the shoot today and could not, and so Hawkins and Derek Willis are the 2 guys that will get the majority of the Alex Poythress minutes for the blue team. Hankerson got that rebound and he was fouled.
You know, one of the things that's so true in basketball is the things that you do really well sometimes at one end of the court are the things that sometimes you don't do well at the other. As well as Kentucky rebounds offensively, they are not a great team at blocking out, so the opposition can rebound as well.
Same sort of deal as a pressing team doesn't like to be pressed?
Absolutely.
Kentucky had some trouble when Bobby Hurley had Buffalo playing zone last Sunday, as Willie Cauley-Stein gets a hand on it. And people talk about all these All-Americans, Coach, but there's a 7-footer challenging an inbound pass in the first minute and a half of a game.
Well, their bigs, the thing that makes them so dangerous on defense and so good is that their bigs can switch, you know, off onto the guards and play them just as well. This is something that Kentucky really wants to do a lot better job of, and that is running off of misses and scoring.
Karl Anthony Towns missed it, but boy, that was a confident move to the hole. And the lob for Judinay, too high, and the Terriers turn it right back over.
Tough team to try and lob over, that's for sure. You know, they talk about the fact that they've got 3 7-footers. In all actuality, they really have 6. They've got 6 guys who have wingspans of over 7 feet, and that's the true measure of height for a basketball player.
Kentucky with some opportunities early, but still only 1 basket to show for it. And Cauley-Stein is whistled for the travel. First turnover against the Cats.
Well, yesterday in practice, you know, Cal kept emphasizing the fact that they have to get better at executing, and I think that's a perfect example right there.
Mentally, Mike, you've been through it with a lot of different teams. You know, coming off such a huge win the other night, you know, how much do you worry about a team being on task against, in a game like this, they're going to be heavily favored in?
Well, you would worry about it a lot, except for the fact that they're in that platoon system, which keeps guys coming in and coming at you. So that takes away a lot of that.
And Cauley Stein with the and one. And you couldn't see it on the air, but normally that second platoon comes in at the under 16-minute timeout. He had them all at the scorer's table, and after that and one, he sent them back to the bench, just what you were talking about.
Well, that's because they scored off a transition, and he wants to reward them for that. That's something that they really want to try to do more of. So it's smart. I mean, once again, you don't win as many games as Cal has won by not being a smart coach.
And the guys that were on that first platoon saw that second platoon at the table.
They did. Now, normally a guy would miss that free throw to stay in the game, but they knew they were in anyhow. Right there's a pretty good example of the fact that even though they're big, they can switch on the perimeter, which makes them even better on defense.
I think they're bigs as you take a look at that second five, waiting for their turns. They've obviously got that length, but they're really mobile as well.
They really are. In fact, their feet, their footwork may be as good as some of the guards on the team.
Hawkins was knocked off on a good pick out front, and Cauley Stein was forced to commit the foul on Cedric Hankerson.
That's what Hankerson does really well. That's drive.
6'5" is Hankerson out of Miami, Florida.
And that young man, Papali, he can shoot it, boy. And I tell you what, as soon as that ball touches his hands, he's looking to get it up there. Quick release.
John Papali, his dad, basketball and a baseball player. Here's Aaron Harrison, and he got a good look at that one and answered.
Well, when you watch Kentucky against zone, they will start opposite the side of the court that they actually really want to go to. So watch for that during the night, and then they'll post up on that weak side low spot trying to reverse the ball and get it inside.
And Kentucky gets a turnover with Cauley Stein at the head of the press. And Alston commits the foul. And Mike, that's an example of what you're talking about right there with that big outside.
Most definitely. And, you know, and they can handle it. I mean, these guys are skilled big men.
So there you see Aaron Harrison go to the bench. None too happy about it. But here comes the second five. It's Tyler Ulis, the 5'9" freshman from Lima, Ohio, and Marian Catholic. We've got Trey Lyles, the Indiana Mr. Basketball, Dakari Johnson, number 44, Marcus Lee, 00, and Devin Booker, number 1, the white platoon, with its first appearance of the night for the Wildcats.
This is the guy they want shooting the basketball.
And he has stayed relentlessly after practice to work on whatever it was that had him out of rhythm.
Well, I don't know what it was. He was 1 for 11, but he's got a stroke.
He's got that great bloodline as well. Kentucky has hit 2 straight triples, and they've stretched it out to a 6-point lead. Kentucky, with a couple of triples in a row, has stretched its lead to 10-6. Time now to take a look at our forward keys to the game, Coach.
Well, you got, once again, BU trying to limit Kentucky to second chance points. And then, of course, Kentucky has to play with the intensity and make believe they're playing Kansas.
Mike, Kentucky is just such, you know, we talk so much about platoons, but the guys they put on the court regardless of platoons. You know, anybody's forward keys to the game. The question is, how do you go about trying to attack them defensively? Some guys double, and then you open it up from the outside. Some people play it straight up. It's kind of picking your poison, isn't it?
Well, it is, and I think what you got to decide is where are they going to beat you most at? And I think with Kentucky, I'd be more worried about the offensive rebounding, so I'd have a tendency to make them make jump shots.
I think that's what Joe Jones is intent on doing as we talked to him at shoot-around today. Nice crossover by Hankerson. Got it back and got a good look that wouldn't go down.
He's had a couple of good looks, and he's got to keep shooting the basketball. Notice here they've gone man-to-man now.
Boy, and Lee had a big mismatch and didn't take advantage of it. After starting out 1 of 3 from the field, Kentucky had made 3 straight before that Lyles miss. And Papali couldn't cash in.
Good idea, but a little bit too quick. I don't think they can shoot that quick against Kentucky and have a chance of beating them.
Check that. That is Papali. My Northeastern's not nearly as good as yours.
Well, you know, that's the one advantage of coaching, at least doing a BU game. I mean, I got my New England accent working for me.
Exactly right. Lyles on the give and go, and that's a tough catch and finish by Marcus Lee.
But did you notice that time they started away from the side that they want to go to? So wherever the side they start to, that's just a decoy. They want to get it back to the other side and then pound you inside if they can.
Mosley got it to go down. They got out and guarded him on that, but he knocked down a tough shot.
Well, they can shoot it now.
And that stopped an 8-2 Kentucky run. And Ulis and Johnson can't connect and turn it over.
John's yelling at Tyler for holding the ball too long. One wants to get the ball moving and then go inside.
Kentucky has gone straight man-to-man with the exception of the times they've gotten into the full court press. And again, some more good execution in the half court by BU, just not able to finish.
Well, they're getting great shots, though. Getting great shots.
Terriers only 3 of 7 from the field to start. Just 1 of 5 from outside the arc. Papali had that shot altered by Booker. And then Ulis unfortunately lost it right out of bounds. Fortunately, John Calipari had his back turned when he lost it right out of bounds in front of him.
Well, there's that length again. I mean, Booker, you know, you look at him and he doesn't look that tall, but he's long. He's about 6'8" long.
Once again, BU getting some opportunities, but can they capitalize? Udine fouled on the baseline.
I was just going to say, if you've got big guys that can put it on the ground and go against Kentucky, I think that's a real plus. I mean, you know, it's one thing to, you got an advantage height-wise, but then you got to cover smaller guys. That's not easy.
BU turns around and turns it back over. 4th turnover of the night. And Joe Jones, you know, comes from a great basketball family. His brother's a coach up at Yale. They just had a young man that's missing a game because he's going for a Rhodes Scholarship interview, which is just all kinds of cool. And from a basketball standpoint, that's all kinds of cool, too, if you're a Kentucky fan.
Well, yesterday they worked on that. They call that zone. And when they run that zone play, they're looking for the lob along the baseline.
Papali couldn't save it. Johnson, the big, running the floor.
Time out.
And getting the miss. And Kentucky, as they've done so many times, puts together a devastating run.
There's that baseline lob play.
Booker with a great look on the diagonal. And then it's Lyles that got back in it via the press. And look at Dakari Johnson. Coach, this is a play he could not have made last year because he wasn't in shape enough to run the floor like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's in shape now, and he's got good hands. And when you can run and you got good hands, that's a pretty good combination.
Dakari Johnson, of course, who played some of his high school basketball here in Lexington. List Brooklyn is his hometown. Finished up down at Montverde Academy down in Florida. And a guy that I think people at the proverbial next level see a ton of upside from.
Oh, well, him and about 10 other guys on this team.
Since the 1634 mark, it's a 12-3 Kentucky run until the former Mr. Basketball, Nathan Judine, gets loose.
Well, that's a pretty good example there of being very aggressive against Kentucky's press.
Johnson had it blocked. And it was Alston who got it. And I tell you, that's the mark of a well-coached team right there, Coach. They take a timeout and they score 5 straight afterwards.
Well, they do, and it's also the sign of a team that's really tough mentally. I mean, they didn't get rattled. They came back, took the shots that they had.
Johnson almost lost it. Ulis has yet to take a shot, and Booker is feeling it. That one got the shot clock. He got squared up on it, but after giving up 5 straight, this is what happens at Kentucky. Well, 5 go out, 5 come in.
Amen. Here they come. But this is what is going to help them maintain the intensity that they need to maintain. And, you know, it's not just in the game, but it's in practice. So that these kids every single day are going against some of the best players in the country. You can only get better.
Didn't it used to be that the only place that had a platoon system was the service academies?
And that's because they probably weren't that good, right? Now, Hankins has shown his versatility, and he'll handle the ball as well, and that'll give Papali a chance to take a little breather.
So Derek Willis in there now for the first time with the Blues. Remember, Alex Poythress out with illness tonight. And they're going to call an over and back.
That shouldn't be.
Andrew Harrison said he went off the leg of Papali. They'll try to straighten it out. And Joe Jones' team hanging in with number 1. Dave Baker and the coach Mike Jarvis back here at Rupp Arena in downtown Lexington. Mike, as many of you know, had a star-studded career and 20-plus years of coaching, almost 30, and he never disagreed with an official's call. And so we're breaking new ground here tonight.
Well, especially on the road. But like I said, that looked like it was touched by Kentucky first, and then it went off Papali. But, of course, that's what Joe sees. John sees it different.
I think he's right. I think Andrew Harrison got a hand on it, and then it went off the shin of Papali, and they play on.
Now, you know, whether it's reviewable or not, what should happen is one of the 3 officials, and that's always been my bone of contention. You got 3 guys, they're making a lot of money. One of those guys should be able to see that and then correct it.
I will tell you, though, in our conversation just preseason with John Adams, the director of officials, that one thing he said about this video review in terms of it taking so long, he's like, if you see 2 officials getting together, that means right there it's not indisputable and we're going to go ahead and play. Yeah. And that, to me, makes sense.
Yes.
Aaron Harrison clings one over, and that's maybe the first time tonight that it looked like somebody on Kentucky maybe took one quickly.
A little bit too quick, and it just, his stroke, the follow through his stroke is not where it should be right now.
Fanning checks in and goes right at the All-American Carl Anthony Towns. That's Eric Fanning, the 6'5" sophomore from Trenton, New Jersey, who no doubt has played against Towns. And as you see, since that timeout, BU has scored 7 straight.
Now, Fanning's transferred in from Wagner. He was hurt last year, and he's a pretty nice player.
That was not a good-looking shot by Derek Willis.
Not at all.
He missed some time last weekend with an illness similar to the one that has Alex Poythress out tonight. And John Calipari, coach, said it at a shoot-around today, the way BU played, how well-schooled they were, how they match up, this is a perfect game, he felt, for his team coming off that blowout win over Kansas.
I agree with John, because BU is also not going to be intimidated. They have played a lot of really good teams, I mean, really tough, so they're not going to be scared of Kentucky.
Kentucky goes to a little half-court trap. And look at BU's execution as they beat it. It's Justin Alston with the slam. And the Terriers have scored 9 straight to tie this one up.
Well, this is exactly what you want if you're Boston University. You can't win it if you're not in it.
Cauley Stein is triple teamed. And Papali is going to be whistled for the foul. There you see the execution. And a great job of drawing the defense and the finish.
Well,
there you see Alston. And Papali checks out and gets his first rest. Chetty Mosley back in there, number 15. And for the first time tonight, we see number 5, Blaise Bargorba, 6'11", 210-pound sophomore from New Jersey who transferred from SMU. And there he is with a rebound. BU looking to take the lead over the nation's #1 team as they've reeled off 9 straight points, but now they turn it over. Aaron and Andrew Harrison, Dominique Hawkins, Willie Cauley-Stein, and Karl Anthony Towns, the blue platoon, back in for Kentucky. Now Kentucky looking for back-to-back baskets.
Still get a dunk out of it. Jeez.
Mosley had it blocked, but they say Towns blocked it on the end line.
You know, here's once again what good defense will do. Good defense will turn into transition basketball and buckets. If you can put 2 or 3 of those together, that's when you get the runs. That's when games are won.
That'll help you out if you're having trouble shooting from the outside as well. Mosley was looking for help, but Judinay wasn't there. And as soon as BU came back to tie it, Kentucky has scored 6 straight.
Game of runs so far.
And that is Kentucky basketball 2014. Straight by the Wildcat coach, and here they do it at both ends of the court.
Well, when you try to take the ball all the way to the basket against Kentucky, you're in trouble. BU can't do that. You've got to continue to look for threes, look for mid-range shots, unless they got a clear uncontested layup. You're not going to drive and get to the rim against Kentucky.
Third block of the night by the Wildcats. They've gotten those points in transition tonight. And we mentioned the fact at the top of our broadcast that in that 32-point win over number 5 Kansas, they didn't have a single transition basket.
That's amazing, and especially with all the block shots that they had. And like I was saying just before we went to the break, BU's got to be careful not to get overconfident here and not to think that they can get all the way to the rim, because they're not going to against Kentucky.
Hawkins, maybe the best perimeter defender for the Wildcats. Got Hankerson tied up. And I think they're going to get Cauley-Stein on the drive.
You know, it would be interesting tonight if at some point in time against Boston U, you had Tyler and you had Hawkins in together on defense. I think that would really, really make a big difference and turn the heat up on Boston U, because they're getting a little comfortable at times against the other guys.
There you see Hankerson check out. Number 0, Eric Johnson, 6'2", 180-pound freshman from Durham, North Carolina, Virginia transfer. In there for the first time for BU. And the pressure by Aaron Harrison. Mosley lost track of the midcourt line. And it's another turnover, the 10th of the night for the Terriers.
Right, well, look at the tonight. You've got 10 fast break points. Against Kansas, you had none. And some people would say, well, it's because you're not playing against Kansas. But no, there's something they've really been working at.
BU now goes back to the zone. And Aaron Harrison continues to be ever so slightly off from the outside.
The that's what you got to do. When you drive like they just drove, you got to look for the perimeter pass and for the three-point shot as opposed to trying to take it all the way to the rim. So it's a good move.
And Coach, I know how much that you valued effort as a coach.
Yes.
You know, that last play right there, that could have easily been a wide open three. But you had one of those Kentucky bigs that was sprinting back down and getting a hand in the face. And who knows how much it altered that shot.
Well, it altered it a lot. And let me tell you something, that doesn't happen unless you practice it. And yesterday at their practice, they spent a lot of time on closeouts.
10-0 run for the Wildcats after BU put together 9 straight to tie it.
This is a very dangerous time for Boston U. They need to get a couple of baskets and make a couple of stops.
Hawkins going to get called for the hand check. And that'll take us to our next media timeout. Game of runs, as Mike Jarvis said. A 10-0 spurt puts the Cats back in front. 7.5 minutes to go in the first half of play. Kentucky coming off that rout of number 5 Kansas. Getting tested tonight from Boston University, even though it's a 10-point margin. The Terriers had tied it up at 16. And Coach, I know that there are managers and all of those analytics guys, the hand coaches like you, information like this during the break. Here's the breakdown of the blue and the white platoons to this point.
Well, I tell you what, John's going to look at those numbers, and they look at them quite extensively. And what he might tell the white team is, if you guys don't pick it up, I'm going to play the blue team more. Because as you can see, there's a huge difference right now between the efficiency of the blue and the white on both ends of the court.
And the white, though, as you drill down deeper into those numbers, it actually extended that lead. But then after Joe Jones took that timeout, they gave up the 9-0 run.
That's right.
And then the Blues came back in. No motivator like playing time for today's athletes, is there?
No, not at all. Of course, as long as you're winning, you know, players don't worry that much about playing time.
So the white platoon back in there. And they're going to call an illegal screen, it looks like, against Justin Alston.
Always seems like when you're looking for a shooter and you're running them off those baseline screens, especially on the road, you get those calls. Not saying it wasn't a good call, because it was.
Right.
He was moving, but you got to be you got to set great screens, especially on the road. Travel.
Lee is called for steps right after Alston had gone to the bench with his second foul of the first half. Kentucky turns it over for the 4th time. 11 BU turnovers here in about the first 13 minutes.
Well, this is a key time also. You've got Hankerson on the bench for BU. So if they can hold serve here, hit a couple of threes, then you never know.
Papali got a little antsy.
Johnson got away with the travel there.
And Ulis threw it right to Mosley.
See, once again, you got to penetrate with the idea of kicking to somebody outside for a shot. You're not going to take it to the rim against these guys.
Mosley is saying, I can take Tyler Ulis.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't see Trey Lyles coming.
No, he didn't. Well, neither did Kansas the other night.
Judinay couldn't get it to go. And Johnson went to the floor and controlled it for the Wildcats.
I think Tyler has got to become a little bit more aggressive on offense. He's got to start looking for a little bit more offense, and then I think that'll really make him even that much better a passer.
You've seen kids during their freshman season go through those ups and downs, and I think he's at one of those points right now. He's starting to hesitate just a little bit.
Well, what he's trying to do is he's trying to please the coach so much that he's passing up a lot of offense.
And just as though the coach pointed out a few moments ago, the white team turns it over, and John Calipari is not going to allow BU to put together another 10-0 run, so he takes a timeout to get that blue platoon back in there.
Well,
of course, You see that number 1 in front of Kentucky. What do you think about the AP top 10, Coach?
Well, right now, I mean, obviously it's so early. I mean, I would say that I don't have any fault with the first 4. I don't know if necessarily 2 through 4 in the right order. Duke might be the number 2 team, but I don't see any problem with that. Louisville, of course, will continue to move up the ranks.
Florida, Virginia, and Texas round out the top 10. Kentucky with 5 of those 10 teams on their schedule. And most of those games, all of them, as a matter of fact, except the Florida game, which comes in conference, all come before the calendar turns to 2015.
Well, that's I think that's the way they want it. I mean, honestly, when they get into league play, they want to be at their very best, and they're certainly going to be by playing the best teams.
So now that blue platoon back in there, Tyler Ulis gets a chance to think things over.
I guarantee you, next time he comes in, he's going to be a lot more aggressive.
Hawkins, Aaron and Andrew Harrison, Towns, and Cauley Stein. And that is Dominique Hawkins.
Not bad for your 11th or 12th man, huh?
The MVP of the Sweet 16 tournament here in 2013 led Madison Central High School to the championship and earned himself a scholarship from John Calipari, who was here for just about every game of that state tournament.
I don't blame him. You know, the end of halves is many times, a lot of times, the end of a half, beginning of the second half, these last 4 or 5 minutes of when games are won and lost, it's going to be really critical for BU to really stay solid these last 5 minutes.
Aaron Harrison got in the passing lane and then went to the court.
Got to knock those down.
And Hankerson did just that. Great hustle by Aaron Harrison, but credit Cedric Hankerson for getting the bucket.
BU right now, if they can go in at halftime down by less than 10, they're going to feel pretty good about themselves.
You talked about this being a game of runs. Kentucky had gone back out on top by 10. And BU now in the midst of a little surge of its own, as you see Johnson go back to the Terrier bench and Chetty Mosley come back in.
And for BU, when they make their runs, it's going to usually be because they make a couple of consecutive threes. That's how they're going to be able to make their runs. They're not going to make them at the rim. Kentucky, on the other hand, will make their runs going all the way and getting dunks at the end.
Eric Fanning out of Trenton, New Jersey, able to get 1 of 2.
Very few free throws so far. You know, quick, nicely played game.
Kentucky has shot just 1. That was the first time that BU went to the line.
Shots off a little bit for Harrison.
And you can tell by that shoulder lean, it's beginning to affect his confidence, but it doesn't bother him on that reverse.
Not at all. So you know what? If your shot's not going in from the outside and you're 6'6", take the ball to the rim.
Good-looking shot there, and it wouldn't go. And Judinay couldn't get it away from Cauley Stein.
But, you know, some people say, what's the big guy doing shooting that jump shot? He's actually he got a nice touch. So you want him shooting those 10, 12-footers.
And as you look at that shot by Aaron Harrison, it certainly wasn't nearly as good as the outside shot, but that's the essence of John Calipari's dribble drive. When in doubt, just put it up. We got guys that can go get it.
That's right. Sometimes that's their best offense.
There's one of those guys that can go get it.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, a penetration by Kentucky, if you're the backline defense, like BU, the guy was that, you can't come to the ball because it's going to end up being a dunk. And that's what they do so well. They come from behind.
Fanning had it knocked away. But as soon as BU puts together a little push, UK takes the elevator up top. They're back on top by 10. Kentucky has stretched it back out to 10. The nation's top-ranked team on top of Boston U, 33-23 at the under 4-minute timeout. Fans, we got more SEC basketball coming right up. Stay with us as the Ragin' Cajuns of University of Louisiana Lafayette face the Auburn Tigers tonight following our BU Kentucky matchup. It's right here on your regional sports network. And always interesting to see what Bruce Pearl may or may not be wearing.
It's kind of nice. It's nice to have him back. He adds a lot to the college game, Bruce does.
An energy guy, as you would say.
Incredible. I remember when he was a manager, believe it or not, at Boston College.
Really?
I mean, so you know what? A guy goes from being a middle school coach to being a head coach at BU. Another guy goes from being a manager at Boston College to being one of the top coaches in the country.
BU head coach Joe Jones was talking about the fact that shoot-around today that he was a middle school basketball coach when he met a young Jay Wright. and he said it changed his personal and professional life and got him into coaching.
Well, Jay is not only one of the best coaches in the game, but he's just one of the great guys in the game, and he's mentored a lot of guys like Joe.
Hankerson forced one over Hawkins, but he had to because the shot clock was running down. And a defensive stop for the Wildcats. And just like you said, Joe Jones knows that this is a critical 3-minute stretch.
Yes, it is.
If he can keep his team in contact with the nation's #1.
The really good teams will get you the last 4 minutes of the half and the first 4 of the second half. That's the inside out that they want to get. They've got to take those shots.
Boy, and Hankerson, Joe Jones talked about how well he had played, 6 or 7 assists a game, but I think he's upped his game even more.
He really has, and he's a gamer. I mean, he loves the big games, always did. I watched him in high school, and he's a nice player.
Back-to-back turnovers by the Blue squad, and guess what? Here come the Whites for Kentucky.
Tell you, a basket here would be huge for their confidence, which I don't think they lack, by the way.
No, I agree. There you see Dakari Johnson along with Devin Booker, Marcus Lee, Trey Lyles, and Tyler Ulis, #3. It'll be interesting to see how he plays offensively in this last 2:34. Fanning is fouled on the way to the glass. And it seems as though the Terriers are gaining even more confidence with each offensive possession.
They really are, but they also got to be careful not to get overconfident and think that they can, just keep taking the ball to the basket, because it's not going to work. And they've got to make their free throws. I mean, neither team has shot many, but so every one is precious.
And our producer, Brian Woodrum, I mean, he is on task in the truck tonight. That's only the 4th and 5th free throws taken cumulatively here in this first half. Lyles on the baseline. That's a pretty shot.
Nice shot. He shot it over the big guy from BU. I've noticed Lyles. I mean, he's the kind of guy. I mean, he's as good, I think, outside, maybe even better than he is inside.
Hankerson again. And that one may have been a bit quick.
It may have been. That might have been a time for penetrating kick to Papali.
Whistle before the shot by Lyles. And the foul goes against Blaise Bargorba. And as we mentioned, only a handful of fouls here in this first half.
But Joe's got to be pleased with the minutes that Blaise has given him.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the middle of the zone. He is long, takes up a lot of room. And the more zone that BU can play, the better chance they have.
That's the problem, though. If that entry pass goes in there, and with the frame that Johnson and others have, it puts the defense at a real disadvantage.
It does, and you can't try to block from behind. You've got to just be content with, contesting and boxing out.
So Dakari Johnson goes to the free throw line, the sophomore from the Bronx. And if one thing would keep him out of the lineup, especially in the end of game situations, Coach, it might be this.
His free throw shooting, most definitely. He's just, he doesn't have a real good free throws touch, and even in practice yesterday, I think he was missing more than he was making.
Johnson came in here hitting only 6 of 12 from the line and missed both there. As you see, a total of 7 free throws taken here in the first half. Papale. And Johnson didn't box out, but made up for it by getting the block. Oh, and I thought Lee got away with a push-off. That would have been the kind of non-call there that would have brought Mike Jarvis off the bench at Rupp Arena.
Oh, no, make no mistake about it. Actually, I tell you, BU is getting a very fair whistle.
They are.
They really are. Good whistle so far.
Has your view about the fair whistle changed since you've come across the court to this seat?
You know what? Honestly, when you sit over here and you watch the game from here, the referees are a lot better.
That soundbite is probably being clipped by referees all over the country.
Yeah, that's all right. They don't have to worry about me anymore.
Sent around on YouTube.
You know, I was going to make a point, though. The last time Boston U was down, they got an offensive rebound.
Yes, they did.
All right, now against most teams, you get that rebound and you want to go right up. Against Kentucky, you get an offensive rebound, you should be looking to kick it out for a 3.
So great point there, Coach, as we see Judinay at the line. Obviously, BU playing to win this game. But how differently do you do things? Because what you said, they're going to be able to go straight back up when they're playing against their conference opponents.
Yeah, but you've got to be able to adjust. I mean, whether it's for one game or a game situation, so you still have to be able to adjust. That's what makes the difference between winning championships and just having a good team. He can shoot that ball now. And I really believe that if he would be more aggressive and look for his shot, then Tyler's going to be able to make Kentucky even that much better.
It's interesting because Ulis was incredibly aggressive during their 6-game tour of the Bahamas as Lyles is called for the foul, fighting through the screen.
Well, the thing about Ulis is, besides the fact that he can really shoot it, and if you have to come out and play him because he has the ability to put the ball on the ground, he's a great passer. I mean, you just have to, I mean, I don't think there's a way you can really play him.
Nathan Judinay, 6'7", 225, out of Louisville Trinity, as we mentioned. Kentucky's Mr. Basketball in 2012. Joe Jones said part of what they do when they put a schedule together, obviously you're looking for some games that have a nice payday like this. But, and I know that a lot of coaches have done this. Guys that you recruit, you try to get them back home and play close to their home.
Yes, you do.
Louisville's 65, 70 miles away. They went over to Judinay's house on Wednesday night, had dinner.
Had a feast.
They can do that over there now.
Yeah, you do want to play, and then especially what that does, especially if you got a good player, and then you can go back and recruit somebody else.
Absolutely.
I mean, imagine if you're recruiting a kid from Louisville and he's not good enough to play at, Kentucky or Louisville, and you say, listen, son, you come with us, and we're going to bring you back home. That in itself might get a kid to come to your school.
Absolutely. Nice move there by Johnson as he went to the left hand. And Bargorba picks up his 3rd foul. Justin Alston has spent a good part of this first half on the BU bench after he picked up 2 fouls.
Yes. And Bargorba, he does not have to block a shot. All he has to do is just make the guy think about it. Keep those hands up straight. And, Kentucky, I mean, as many shots they block, they work a lot on staying on their feet.
Absolutely. They do certainly get their share of blocks where a guy's coming over from the backside.
Yes.
But they do a nice job, and it's very difficult to block shots on the ball.
It is. And you know what? They practice not trying to block them on the ball. Huge possession for BU.
Shot clock off. Unless something terrible happens, the Terriers are going to go in down less than 10, but they would love to cut it to 5 or 6.
Amen.
Long 3-pointer off the bounce.
Huge.
And it's knocked down by Eric Fanning. Don't hate on the Kentucky defender. credit BU's Eric Fanning for raising up and knocking down a tough triple. The Terriers get a lift and have the momentum as they go to the locker room at the break. But it's the nation's #1 team on top by 5. Our halftime activities come your way when we come right back. Back in Rupp Arena in downtown Lexington, second half action getting set to start as the #1 ranked Kentucky Wildcats lead the BU Terriers by a count of 40-35. Dave Baker and the coach Mike Jarvis back here. All right, coach, you see Kentucky with the 26 total points allowed. The Kentucky in the second half, last 2 games, 26 total points allowed. What kind of adjustments have they been making to do that? And what kind of adjustments is BU going to have to make to avoid that from happening this evening?
Well, I think it's going to be more about what Kentucky tries to do. I think Kentucky's going to have to extend their defense. They're going to have to try to get BU a little bit further away from the basket, maybe get a few more steals, and try to maybe force the tempo of the game a lot more than they have. You know, the one stat that sticks out to me, though, is that Kentucky only has 2 offensive rebounds.
2 offensive rebounds, and they're shooting 17 of 30 from the field. So there have been some opportunities there that they, to this point, have not cashed in on. And as John Calipari will do, whoever the last group was out there at the end of the half, he'll go with the other entity. So it's the white platoon that starts things here in the second half. There's Dakari Johnson with the spin in the first 2 of the final 20 minutes.
You know, he has really, really improved his post game, and I think it's mainly because he's now learning how to be much more patient in the post. He's not rushing anything in the post.
Alston back in there with those 2 fouls along with Hankerson. Judinay. Papali and Chetty Mosley, who took that shot. And there's Hankerson with everything he's done so well. He gets an offensive rebound.
And, you know, we talked about the fact that Kentucky really does not do a great job blocking out. And that's another perfect example right there.
So you've got Lyles, Ulis, Marcus Lee, Dakari Johnson, and Devin Booker as the Whites throw it away. And excellent execution by BU on the break. And John Calipari was just going to send in Willie Cauley-Stein and break the platoon system. But now he takes a timeout. BU has cut the lead to 3. And back come the Blues. Karl Anthony Towns out of that timeout with a quick basket for Kentucky. And the blue platoon back in there for the Wildcats as BU had come back to cut it to 3. The Towns bucket and then that push off against Cedric Hankerson.
You know, even if Kentucky goes inside and scores like they did the last time, that's okay. It's only 2, and it takes time to even score on like a possession like the last time, going inside and then making a move to score.
Aaron and Andrew Harrison, Karl Anthony Towns, Willie Cauley-Stein, and Dominique Hawkins again getting the start tonight. Alex Poitras out with illness, tried to practice the last 2 days and couldn't finish either day. And an illegal screen is going to be called against Trinity High School's Nathan Judinay.
Second time they've been called for the illegal screen after the handoff, and you got to be careful with that. You know, one other thing I was just noticing, though, like with Kentucky, and maybe one of the reasons why they're not rebounding a lot is I think they've got to start taking some shots from the top of the key, so now they've got 2 bigs that can rebound as opposed to just on one side.
And that was no easy shot, but Aaron Harrison went inside the arc and got the floater to go.
The outside shot's not working. Go inside.
Judinay hesitated. And then drew the contact from Willie Cauley-Stein. Third against Cauley-Stein.
Like we said earlier, I think BU's getting a very fair whistle. And that definitely was a foul. Fans don't agree.
No.
You know, you can always tell when Kentucky's in a good game against a non-league team, the fans start to get into it. And I got a sense that these fans are going to start to get more and more into this game.
How about that? They will if Cedric Hankerson keeps shooting the basketball the way that he is. Hankerson now in double digits with 11. Aaron Harrison leads Kentucky with 11. That's the point total he had to lead the Wildcats the other night against Kansas. And let's see who that is. That going to be against Towns?
No.
Check it, Hankerson.
If I'm Joe, I'm a little upset on that one because Hankerson, a smaller guy, is trying to block out. It looked like the big guy went over his back, but so be it.
BU back in the zone. The zone, for the most part, has been effective tonight.
Yes, it has. Done a great job.
Andrew Harrison cut off in traffic and turns it over.
Well, the other thing the zone can do is if you have a guy like Hankerson maybe picks up his third foul, and you can keep him in the game a little bit longer if you're playing zone.
Look on Hankerson's face. He thought he may have gotten away with one there. And this crowd that you talked about now getting more than a little restless here in Lexington.
And rightfully so.
Oh, Hankerson is feeling it.
He sure is. He's probably saying to himself, if my brother could go to an SEC school in Alabama, then I can play against one.
Brother Charles started out at Alabama and then transferred to Wyoming. And Cedric Hankerson tonight with 14 as you see him. Boy, and he got teed up. I saw that. And if you read lips, you saw it too. And you want to have that enthusiasm and that energy. But that right there, Coach, is where you got to be able to reel it back in.
You really do, and because it's not just a tech, it's a personal foul as well, so it really hurts you. You know, I mean, it just gets you closer to the bench.
Breaks momentum.
Yes.
Hankerson, 14 points. He had just knocked down his fourth triple in 7 shots.
How many fouls are he?
And Hankerson with 2 fouls. I'm not sure whether the board has changed yet. And we'll get the announcement as they sort it out. Oh, now they're saying double technical. I saw the official point directly to Hankerson. And they've now said double technical against Andrew Harrison and against Cedric Hankerson.
Well, Hankerson was talking, and then Andrew pushed him.
And I'm blessed this is the first time we've had a chance to work together, but I would guess that you're not a big fan of the double technical.
Not a big fan of it, but in that case, I think it was warranted, to be honest with you.
Okay. So you see the guys still trying to sort it out over there at midcourt. John Calipari not happy about it. There you see Joe Jones, and they're trying to get it straight with the official scorekeeper. Hankerson, as a result, will now have 3 personal fouls.
Correction, the technical was not on Andrew Harrison. It was on Aaron Harrison.
Oh, wow.
His first personal.
Okay. And maybe we'll get a chance to take a look at this in a second. But people always knock me for this twin thing. But Andrew was there, but they actually called the second technical on Aaron Harrison, who came in and got his brother's back.
Yeah, you have to look at that one again.
So that is the first foul against Aaron. And the net result is that rare offensive rebound that Kentucky has been looking for tonight. So we'll sort it all out as the Wildcats are in a battle against the Terriers. #1 Kentucky in a battle as they lead Boston University 46-44. Here's a look at the technical now. All kinds of stuff happening. There's Aaron Harrison, who tried to clear out, just make some distance with the elbow, and he and Hankerson continue to talk. It was shortly after that Hankerson said the magic words, and that's what got him teed up. And the official pointed to Hankerson, but then went to the table and administered the double technical, Coach.
Right. The only thing, as you watch that, is you see that Aaron Harrison really started it all. And that's where it's almost like he should get the tech, because he was the one sort of like put his elbow in the face of Hankerson. Now, Hankerson, if he was smart, he'd have just walked away. So he runs his mouth, and then, boom, they both get technicals.
It's just one of those situations where no matter which side of the fence you're on, you've got to be able to control it.
Well, especially you're on the road and you're playing so well. And, you know, Joe's going to have to make a decision here relatively soon, Coach Jones, and that is, do I put Hankerson back in maybe a little sooner than usual, because you can't afford to let it slip away, that's for sure. But they got a break. They only made one of the free throws.
And John Calipari has broken up the platoon for the first time tonight. He's got Aaron Harrison out there with Booker, Willie Cauley-Stein, Andrew Harrison, and Karl Towns Jr.
And you notice what else they've done. They've really started to extend the defense and trying to get BU a little bit further away from the basket.
And an offensive foul.
They've got to speed them up, and that's what they're trying to do. If they can speed them up, and that might lead to some transition baskets, and maybe they can get a run going again.
Judene, the Kentucky native, not getting the home state whistle. And again, for those of you just joining us, Alex Poythress out ill tonight. Dominique Hawkins got the start for the blue platoon. And for the first time tonight, #1 Devin Booker in with the Blues, as Towns can't get it to go.
Great looking shot, though.
Only the 4th shot of the night for Towns, and just 2 points. Hustled back on defense, though, and started things with a block.
Got to advance that ball, Mr. Booker. Pass it ahead. This is where they're so tough, and they practice blocking shots every day as well, and they can get you from the side or from behind.
And there at the top of the key, Coach, you see #3 Tyler Ulis. You talked about Booker not getting that ball ahead.
Yes.
I'm certain that's the instructions that Ulis had.
No doubt about it.
Here's Harrison.
Shoot that, son.
Smallest guy on the court gets an offensive rebound that hits the ground.
Yes, that's where they get him. Had a player once by the name of Shante Rogers, 5'5", so they say. He was about 5'3".
Right.
He was our second leading rebounder. He had 7 games where he had over 10 rebounds in a game. So it's not about how tall you are, especially on those long rebounds. Long shots, long rebounds.
Bar Gorba whistled for the foul. It's his 4th. And now there's been a technical foul that's been called. And I think this time they got Judene as he was lining up for the free throws. Still upset about that offensive foul call at the other end when he thought Willie Cauley-Stein initiated the contact. You see the official right there. He said, I told you to walk away, and you didn't.
Right. Stop talking.
So for all the good things that they have done, and they're still in this game against the nation's #1 by single digits, a couple of occasions here in the second half where BU has not shown the poise their coach would have hoped they would.
But the longer they can stay in it, the more chance they got to win it. And the tighter Kentucky will get. If they could, BU can just keep it close, you never know. Because here we are with 14 minutes to go, and it's a 4-point ball game.
Kentucky beat Grand Canyon in the opener by 40. They had a 19-point win over Buffalo and a 32-point win over number 5 Kansas. As Hankerson, in fact, checked back in at the 14:34 mark. And this is certainly the most that Kentucky has been tested at this point in the second half so far this season.
I think that was a great move by Joe to get Hankerson back in. You can't wait in a game like this. You got to go with your best players.
And they're going to call a carry against Eric Fanning. So a couple of technical fouls, an offensive foul, a turnover on a palming call, and it's been about 4 empty trips in a row for the Terriers.
Yeah, and they're still only down by 6.
Yes, sir.
Settle just decide to stay in that zone.
Boy, and Judinay got hit.
See, that's almost one of those where it's almost, I mean, I'm surprised they're not, it's because he got hit in the face.
I think they will go take a look at the monitor.
They've got to look at that.
Towns.
Yes, watch here. Don't think it was intentional, but he did get hit in the face, and that's, one of those things they're supposed to call.
And that's what the monitor is there for. I don't know if chippy is the right word, but the nice flow to this game that was there in the first half has certainly not been present here in the second half.
Well, I think that a lot of that's due to the fact that it's still a close ball game. And, Kentucky so far this year has been used to blowing teams out in the second half. And because BU hasn't allowed that to happen, I think Kentucky's a little frustrated right now.
The point of emphasis by the officials this year is the illegal contact in the post. And one of the main points of emphasis is, and this is straight out of the NCAA enforcement stuff, it's do not permit offensive player to dislodge legal defender.
Right. Right. Especially when the contact is made, in the opposition, the defender's face. That's the problem. Anytime you see that happen, they're going to go to the monitor.
And this is where it comes down to discretion, as you saw Kevin Fair make that call. And obviously you had Towns at 6'11" and Judinay at 6'7". Towns was just, it appeared as though he was just turning around to try and make a play, but the height differential caused it to occur above the shoulders.
Well, that's where a big guy gets, he really is put at a disadvantage, because if he was playing against a 7-foot guy, his elbow's not in his face. His elbow's in his chest.
We still got one official over there looking at the monitor. And after all that, they say common foul.
And I agree with that call. It was not intentional. Like I said, I think it was just the fact that the guy's shorter than him.
Eric Johnson back in there, wearing number 0 for BU. And another whistle.
So all of a sudden the whistles are stopping.
Yeah, and Andrew Harrison went in there hard. And Justin Alston responded just as forcefully.
Now, if you're Boston University right now, there's 2 guys that should be taking probably 80% of your outside shots, and that would be Papelli and Hankerson. The other guy should be looking to penetrate and kick to those 2 guys.
Kentucky held Kansas to just 12 second-half points on Tuesday night. BU has scored just 9. Here's Willie calling
Great pass by Andrew Harrison. And that's what they got to do. They got to extend their defense.
Nervous crowd back in it. They're on their feet, and this young man put them there.
Well, once again, you know, you practice something enough, and eventually you can perfect it, and that's what Kentucky does when they throw those alley-oops.
That perfection is a little easier to achieve when you have guys on the receiving end like Cauley-Stein, who, despite his 6'11" frame, was a really good high school receiver.
Yes.
And Hankerson wide open.
Don't know where the weak side help was that time.
First bucket for the Terriers in over 3 minutes as they go back to the zone.
Nice job, though, by Boston University.
Oh, boy. Hankerson in there battling. Johnson got a good look at it, but couldn't finish.
Now the other net.
And just credit Cedric Hankerson for getting position and just winning that 50-50 ball.
I was going to say that the other night against Kansas, those guys were going and getting those second ones and putting them back in for dunks. BU's done a great job of boxing out and staying between the Kentucky players in the basket. Little push you got away with there.
Johnson trying to return the favor on the other end. And Aaron Harrison takes a hard foul.
Now, as a coach, you don't mind that foul. What you don't want is to give him a three-point play. So put him on the line. Make him make 2 shots.
And that's the 4th on Justin Alston. And Kentucky now in a more regular substitution pattern. Aaron Harrison in there with Andrew, Tyler Ulis, Willie Cauley-Stein, who now checks out, and Dakari Johnson. So now it's Ulis, Aaron Harrison, Trey Lyles, Johnson, and Marcus Lee as John Calipari starts looking at some different combinations.
And I think a lot of that, you know, is a result of the fact that Alex Poitras isn't playing tonight. If he plays tonight, I think the platoon system can stay in effect. With him out, it really made a huge difference in terms of being able to do that. Because there's a huge drop-off between him at 6'9", or 6'9" 3-man, and you know, Hawkins and Willis playing.
And I led you right into that. And as I look up, it's now the entire white platoon that's back out there. But Willie Cauley-Stein is off the bench and set to check back in. John Calipari saw something in a hurry he did not like. And I'm not sure who was responsible. It was Dakari Johnson.
But now it's 10, and this is where BU has to be really careful. They've got to try to keep it 10 or less.
Papali, who had put up such good numbers, has largely been held in check by the Wildcats tonight. Just 1 bucket.
That's what scouting does.
Fanning trying to make something happen and goes up and over top 2 Kentucky bigs.
I'll tell you what, if I'm in the Patriot League and I'm watching this game tonight, I'm saying, you know what, this Boston University team is for real. They could win it again this year.
Booker answers.
Booker may not have been shooting the ball well before tonight, but he's a shooter, and you got to play him.
And Hankerson is fouled by Lee.
Who got him on the arm?
BU trying to stay close. Devin Booker trying to stretch it back out. Cats lead by 11. Dave Baker, Mike Jarvis, our entire SEC crew here in Lexington. We're #1 Kentucky after that huge win over 5th-ranked Kansas, getting a big-time test from Boston University, and foul trouble becoming a serious issue for the Terriers, Coach.
Well, it is, and the guy that I'd be worried about most on that group would probably be Hankerson. The other guys, you could probably say, okay, we'll go until one of them fouls out, fine. But Hankinson's got to be out on the court.
A relatively clean game from a foul standpoint in the first 20 minutes, but you see BU's in the bonus. Kentucky is in the double bonus. We've had a double technical and a third standalone technical here in the second half. And Cedric Hankerson has really established himself as a BU go-to guy.
No doubt about it. I mean, he's not only scoring, but he's given that toughness that they need.
Boston University, the defending Patriot League champs. First time that's happened since 2004. They have given a good accounting of themselves tonight, and lots of basketball to go.
Here's that zone play, and what they try to do is they try to set a double back screen for the weak side wing on the baseline as they reverse the ball for that lob dunk.
We talked earlier about BU's excellent execution of the scouting report. That one was one time when they didn't adhere to it so well. Turnover off the press. Cats look to convert. Look at Dakari Johnson putting in work.
Here comes that zone action that they like to run, where they dribble it down and then they reverse it. And now they're going to look for the guy going along the baseline behind the two big screens. Nice play. They practiced that yesterday toward the end of practice quite a bit.
Coach, I wonder about your thoughts. As much basketball as you have seen and continue to see throughout the year, everything is minutes generated and stats generated for a lot of these young guys. But, you know, the 9 All-Americans on this team, and it seems like Cal doesn't have to encourage them at all to give up the basketball to one another, despite the limited number of minutes they're playing.
Well, when you send 19 guys to the NBA in the last, 5 years, then they know they're going anyhow. So they don't have to worry about numbers. All they have to do is just win. And the scouts know who the players are. And I think what Cal's done a great job of is convincing these guys that they're going to get better. Here's that lob play again.
Oh, somebody better take a look at that, because the Whites have put together this run, and at least 2 Blues and more are ready to come right back in.
That's either going to force BU to make an adjustment, which they're probably going to have a tough time doing during the flow of the game in that zone, or they're just going to force them to go man-to-man.
Manning took it into traffic and drew the foul.
Well, here's that alley-oop again. And once again, it's the wing who initiated the play, dribbling it down, and then they reverse it out, and then they got the 2 big setting screens along the baseline. That wing who's defending the man that dribbles it down, he's got to get back down inside, or else they'll do that all night. And I guarantee you, one thing about Cal, if something's working, he's going to go back to it again until you stop it. So
yeah, he's not one of these guys that's going to go through a whole sheet.
No. What's working, he's going with. Just like if he finds a hard player, that hard player is going to get the ball.
Dakari Johnson, Willie Cauley-Stein go out.
You know, normally you get away maybe 1 basket on a play like that in the game. They've got about 4 of those. That's doesn't happen that often on those lob dunk plays against the zone.
Andrew Harrison, Karl Anthony Towns check back in.
And here's BU going, man, now watch Kentucky just try to pump it inside. Going to try to bang it in.
Alston down there playing with those 4 fouls. And Towns is really putting him to the test.
Inside kick out. And if he's shooting the ball like that, they're awfully impossible. They're impossible to play if he's shooting the ball when you go in the post. The post players are good by themselves.
Booker with 10. He's 3 of 4 from outside the arc.
On the arm.
And Andrew Harrison fouls Hankerson, and he'll shoot 3.
But you see how quickly, I mean, and it's like, minute by minute, the spread has been going up. I mean, now you got a 14-point game chance. Maybe BU makes these, cut it back to 11. But once again, if Kentucky had just made a couple more stops, couple more baskets, now you got a 20-point ball game. Got to make these.
Aaron Harrison checks back in for his brother Andrew.
But I know Cal's on Andrew about fouling a three-point shooter. You just can't do that, especially when you're up by 15 points, 16 points.
One of my favorite coaching lines. And some people have a tendency to disregard these. They must have said that Hankerson was on the line. And a 30-second timeout taken by BU. It becomes a full. And the Terriers trying to stay in contact as they trail by a dozen.
What were you going to say?
Number 1 Kentucky has gotten a battle as they lead Boston U 66-54. 9:09 to play in this one. And here's a look up top. You see the screen that was set. And they never went over and took a look at the monitor as Hankerson was fouled on the jump shot. Tough to tell from that angle.
But it looked like he stepped on the line.
Oh, he stepped and
but
stepped
then
back.
He stepped back.
No question.
I'm just surprised that, Joe, somebody wasn't complaining so they could take a look.
Now, the question is, unless they asked somebody and somebody said, I absolutely saw it and he was on the line.
Yeah.
Now, you still may not like that explanation, but...
No, I never liked it because, once again, you got 3 guys and you got 1 guy who's supposed to be looking right at that line. But anyhow, could make a big difference in a game like this.
Hankerson made both free throws. And Kentucky with the basketball back. It's Booker, Ulis, Aaron Harrison, Karl Anthony Towns, and Trey Lyles. A combination Kentucky fans have not seen on the court a lot together this year. One thing John Calipari said he was looking for was his finishing 5.
Yes. That's always the most important 5.
Shot clock at 5. And that was not a good possession. Unless you're a BU fan, and when you can play defense like that and get a triple from Hankerson, and Joe Jones is pumped as they have to take a brief timeout to fix the net. Cauley Stein checks back in for Kentucky.
Now the defense here is just they're digging in. They're making Kentucky shoot the jump shot. They're not hitting them, so that's in their favor. Great box out. Now, at this end of the court, you want to penetrate, and then you want to look to kick. And that's just what they did.
Cedric Hankerson with 23 points to lead all scorers here in Rupp Arena. And with this offensive combination, Kentucky is being bothered by the BU zone. Bad shot from Aaron Harrison. But an incredible hustle play by Devin Booker, who went flying into the cheerleaders and saved it to Cauley Stein.
Well, what BU is doing a great job of is really packing in the zone. And as a result, when Kentucky's not shooting it well and they're not really being aggressive shooting the ball. So that works right into BU's hand. Sometimes your best offense is a miss.
Booker with the hustle. Cauley Stein the beneficiary. But the Cats cannot shake the Terriers. Here's Rupp. There you see our Hyundai game summary. The Blue Platoon responsible for a 10-point margin, and it is an 11-point game. Here at the under 8-minute timeout, Dave Baker, Mike Jarvis. Kentucky has made baskets when they needed to because of how well BU has played here in the second half. The Cats have hit 5 of their last 7 field goals. But BU with 3 players in double figures. Eric Fanning, the transfer, with a dozen. Chetty Mosley with 10. Cedric Hankerson with a career-high 23. The sophomore guard who was a Patriot League All-Rookie last year. scored a season-high 20 at Loyola of Maryland behind 5 threes. He's got 5 triples again tonight.
Doing a nice job of digging in against the post and playing off of guys, making them take those shots. Of course, he's on fire tonight.
And Coach, he's the guy that has been struggling with it the most. He's the guy that got the most extra shots up. And he was working with assistant coach Kenny Payne at the end of shoot-around today. And I was there, and Cal said, he's shot enough. Get him out of here. Save him for tonight.
Well, I tell you, even yesterday in practice, Cal just kept telling him, keep shooting. But I'll tell you what else Cal told him. He said, the reason why you're missing, son, is because you're playing defense like you never played it before in your life. This is a dangerous time.
Aaron Harrison and Joe Jones will have to go timeout. Kentucky has just gotten it going. And Devin Booker, who is such a prolific scorer, has been the catalyst. But Kentucky with a 9-0 run, Coach, in the last minute 15.
And defense will get you those runs, and you see them coming from behind, which they do so well. Usually to block shots, that time to get a deflection. Now, if you BU, okay, I mean, it's like you got to make a decision right now. There's 6:42 to go in the game. You're down 18. Did you come to win, or did you come to be close? And here's the danger. If you came to win, you're going to start pressing full court, which means you could end up getting blown out by 30.
Right.
If you play it conservative, maybe you go home with a 10 or 12-point loss instead.
Devin Booker, the Mississippi Player of the Year. Of course, his dad, Melvin, played at Missouri. Came into this program as a 42% three-point shooter. 4 of 5 from outside the arc tonight. 15 points to go along with 6 assists and 3 rebounds. Nice drive as Hankerson draws the contact. And he was able to create that opportunity because he shot it so well from outside.
He really was, and he uses his body so well. He gets his body into you. And, there's a guy now, what's he, he's listed as 6'5"? And, I mean, he plays sometime like he's 6'8" or 6'9".
Oh, yeah.
Now, BU goes home. I guess they play on the road against New Hampshire in their next game against my former assistant, Bill Herrian. They've got to be careful to make sure that they don't start to think they're a lot better than they are, too. So now you're looking at a little bit of a three-quarter court trap, little what we used to call 75 soft, and they're going to try to trap. So Joe's decided, hey, let me see, but he's going back to his zone.
The one thing he told us was that whatever they did,
yes,
they couldn't let Kentucky get comfortable with it.
Correct.
So he's trying to change up the look ever so slightly, and with it, change the result. Harrison fouled on the baseline. And that is the challenge and the frustration all wrapped up in one for Kentucky opponents. If you're BU, you play so hard on that possession, and then a guard comes flying in and gets a rebound, and they're back at the free throw line.
Oh, yeah, and if those guards can take it to the basket. In fact, they might be just as good going to the basket as shooting outside. I don't think BU can win if they just show the zone trap and fall back into the zone. So they're probably going to have to go back from the trap into man-to-man and try to see if they can get a couple of steals.
People wonder, the folks that are always trying to analyze what might be Kentucky's chink in the armor. It's not the defense.
No, it's not.
But I was going to say it might be that free throw shooting, only 11 of 19 tonight.
Yeah, they've got to definitely get much better at their free throw shooting.
But when you can do that, it makes things much more manageable.
know, BU's doing a much better job tonight at trying to finish around the rim than Kansas did.
And Willie Cauley-Stein heads to the Kentucky bench after committing his 5th foul. Cauley-Stein 6 of 7 from the field. Only had 2 rebounds, but 12 points tonight. And in that platoon system, that's not a bad line at all.
No, not at all, except he's got to get more rebounds. He's got to get more than 2 rebounds in his 20-plus minutes of playing.
Both of those rebounds, as you mentioned, Coach, on the defensive end. He had an assist and turned it over twice.
BU's settled in, you know, with the zone, which in a way has kind of surprised me just a little bit. But they're not making those, you know, consistent jump shots, so why not?
Also trying to protect Alston, who's been in there with those 4 fouls for a while.
Correct.
Five minutes to play here in Rupp Arena. And as well as BU has played tonight. And they're going to call a push-off. Yes, no, yes. The way the official was pointing, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. But Judine, the former Kentucky Mr. Basketball, is called for his 5th. And the reason he's going out right now is because of that technical he picked up earlier in the half.
Well, I think Joe's got a pretty good legitimate gripe on this one. Depending on where the referee was, it probably looked a lot worse from where he was standing.
Could have looked a lot worse, but I don't think you go outside the realm of the unacceptable by calling that one.
Yeah, you do.
And after some of the back and forth that's taken place that Judine was involved in, he's a guy that officials are going to be focusing on, rightly or wrongly.
Right.
And certainly you feel for the young man who had such a great here in the state, a great career here in the state, came back home.
But he's got nothing to be embarrassed about.
No.
I thought he played really well tonight.
Only 2 of 4 from the field, missed both of his triples. 4 assists, 5 rebounds, 6 of 6 from the line, and 10 points.
Not a bad night against Kentucky.
Not a bad shot against Kentucky either by Justin Alston.
If I'm in the Patriot League, I'm really concerned about Boston University, I'll tell you.
Pretty move by Dakari Johnson. And this is the deal with Kentucky. BU has come in here and played a good game.
Yes, they have.
And you look up at the board, and it's getting away from them.
You know, one of the things that John talked about, you know, earlier, you know, was and emphasized in practice is guys really getting over, moving their feet, and that was a great example there of great help defense.
The margin for error against these Wildcats is so small that from a basketball standpoint, it's like trying to thread the proverbial eye of a needle.
Well, you know, as a coach, you always want to see your players execute the things that you work on in practice. And yesterday, they really spent a lot of time talking about starting the ball on one side against the zone, reversing it back, and going inside. And that's what they did the last couple of times down.
Doesn't mean they're invincible.
Oh, no. No, this team can be beat. But it's going to take a heck of a team to beat them.
It's going to take guys making shots like that all night, and that's a pretty one by Chetty Mosley. That was good three-point defense.
Yes, it was. It was excellent defense.
Andrew Harrison knocked it down. He got a good look and got his feet underneath him.
Now you go back to Mosley, and you know you're talking about a very, very confident freshman.
Ulis couldn't hold it. And Kentucky more than content to push the tempo as they have stretched it out to a 21-point lead.
Good patience. Working the ball side to side.
Offensive rebound as Dakari Johnson got it. And Kentucky just 2:32 from putting the finishing touches on another home court win. Kentucky, #1 in the land, has stretched it out to a 21-point lead over Boston U. And tonight, our Synovus greatness made here comes in the form of the freshman from Moss Point, Mississippi, Devin Booker. Able to shoot the basketball, able to hand out the assist. John Calipari has preached all along, Mike Jarvis, this platoon system, everybody's going to get their chance. And while Booker has not been himself the first 3 games, he's certainly broken out tonight.
Well, he did. He went back to being that guy that averaged 30 points a game in high school. And as John told him yesterday in practice, you know, maybe you're not shooting the ball as well as we'd like because you're playing more defense than you ever played in your life. You know, during the timeout, they brought out that huge Kentucky
Yes, they
flag.
did. Yes.
Well, I remember the first time we came here, it was a real close game at the end.
And you got flagged?
Well, they came out with this medium-sized flag, and the fans didn't respond. The guy went back inside. He got that humongous flag, and they came running out with that. Then they got excited. So I guess every time that big one comes out, they get a little excited.
Yes, sir. Fans, stay tuned. We've got more SEC basketball that's coming up right after this. Raging Cajuns of Louisiana Lafayette face Auburn tonight following our BU Kentucky matchup right here on your regional sports network. Booker got it back.
There's that law play again.
And that time it was to Hawkins, the guard. My goodness.
See, when that ball is in the middle of the floor, and that's where they make the pass from, there's no real weak side help. And that's why those plays can work, especially if you can pick off that back guy in the zone. Well, one thing about Kentucky, they're not satisfied with just winning. I mean, they're continuing to come at you.
And that's part of the whole platoon thing.
Yes, it is.
It's not like he's left the first 5 in there the whole time.
The only thing he could do for these last 2 minutes is move it back. Maybe pick him up at half court.
Hankerson had it blocked. Here's Will Goff, who checked in. And he'll get his name in the scorebook playing in Rupp Arena. And Nick Havener charged with the
Here comes
travel.
that zone play where they double back screen along the baseline and lob that pass from the middle of the court. Once again, no weak side help.
I think that time they were picking on Dylan Haynes, the 7-foot sophomore from Liverpool, New York.
You know what? The older you get, the more you see kids whose dads used to play. And Goff's dad used to play at Texas A&M back in the early 80s.
Not only Goff's dad, Goff had like, it seems like 10 or 15 members of his family that played D1 athletics. Towns looking to go to work. And he's called for the turnover.
Checking in for Boston, #0, Eric Johnson, also #20, Cameron.
See if Kentucky moves the press back a little bit. Yeah, I'm sure they will. But I'll tell you what, BU can go home knowing that they can play, and you know, they're not going to play another Kentucky this year, or maybe ever.
And again, to speak to this platoon system and not to harp on it too much, but this takes place tonight. Kentucky with 89 points, a season high.
Right.
And it takes place with one of their blue platoon starters, Alex Poitras, out with illness.
That's correct. Because what it does is everybody's going to play every minute they're on the court.
Hawkins with a career-high 7 points, including that last dunk.
A great box out again by BU, though. And, you know, to see a team continue to do the little things, even though they're down by plus 20 right now, is a good indication of a team that is well coached. Big 7-footer, he puts on a few pounds, he could be okay. Dylan Haynes, that was. Hold it out. Put another one in the book for Kentucky.
The Wildcats #1 in the land. They got a battle from BU, but no letdown after they swept away Kansas. The nation's #1 runs its record to 4-0. BU, the defending Patriot League champs, fall to 1-2. But they have got a lot to look forward to this season. 89-65 the final. 24 for Cedric Hankerson. Aaron Harrison with 19. Devin Booker, 15.7 assists. Mike Jarvis, great being with you. Let's do it again.
Great being with you. And as Cal just said to Joe Jones, great job.
We've got Louisiana, Lafayette, and Auburn coming up next. Thanks for being with us as the Wildcats stay perfect. So long, everybody.